Welcome back, NASCAR fans, to NASCAR Chat. It's been a couple months since we've been able to get together to be with you, and there's been a lot happening in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. We're winding down. There's 2 more races to go. We'll definitely be talking about that. My name is David Whitlock from Houston, Texas. It's great to see everybody again there through the virtual YouTube screen I've got in front of me. And joining me, as always usual, is Lexie from not Charlotte, North Carolina anymore, because she's moved. She's now from Rochester, New York. How are you today, Lexie?
I'm good. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing great. It's great to be back with you. Good to see you again, and lots to talk about. I think you got a Steelers shirt on there, so we've got coming up a football season. Maybe at the end we'll do a little preview of some Bulldogs and Steelers and things like that. Who knows?
Living life on the edge here. I live in Bills country now, so I'm living life on the edge.
You may, if she goes missing, we'll know why. So when we left everybody, I guess, 2 months ago, we had the big 3, and even at that point, it was almost the big 2. We had Harvick and Kyle Busch were really dominating. Martin Truex really got on a run there in June and July, so he's been up, and it's really been a big 3, seemingly to win all the races. There's been a lot of debate in NASCAR world whether that's good or bad for the season, for the sport. We'll start off with that. What do you make of the big 3 so far? Do you think it's good that you've got this rivalry playing off each other, or do you think that you're turning viewers off because you're seeing kind of the same predictable race every week?
The way I see it, I suffered through this with Jimmy Johnson for 5 straight years. So it's about time that those people get consistent winners this time around. But it was only a matter of time before those 3 completely dominated the season. So, I mean, there's a lot of pros and cons for it, but I think it's great.
Yeah, I've been on before kind of saying I want to see some new winners, and we've had some new winners that we'll talk about. But at the same time, it seems that if you have some really big powerhouses and to see them go against each other, that's kind of the best part. When you see a race coming down to the end and you see Busch and Harvick and Kyle Busch going back and forth at the end, you can generally know that day who has the better car, but then sometimes something unpredictable happens at the end. And we all know if there's a caution at the end, Mr. Kyle is the king of restarts, and so he's taking advantage of that. So going back to last week, and I know you didn't see the whole race, but I know you saw some highlights. One of the interesting portions was the day that Kyle Busch had, because he started off with a wreck like on lap 2. This is, of course, at Bristol, short track, so it was right off the bat with this wrecked up car, went all the way, almost went 3 laps down, came all the way back on the lead lap, bumped Truex out of the way, and I'll get your comment on that too, and then got spun out at the end. His car just kind of wore out. We'll go back to the Truex thing. I imagine you saw when he kind of nudged Truex a little bit out of the way. What did you think about that move? Is that just the way the race goes in the world of Kyle Busch, or was that a little bit because Martin was not happy about it?
3 words: short track racing. Simply put. But I mean, Denny and Kevin had that same problem when I went to that race 4 years ago, and nobody said a thing about it being intentional. So I don't know where anybody's coming up with the intentional crap, but it's short track racing. You're going to get bumps and runs, and Kyle did that to Kyle Larson a couple months ago at the spring Bristol race. So, and they even said that it was intentional, but I mean, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't when it comes to Kyle Busch. So, but overall, I think that it was just short track racing move. It wasn't dirty. And Martin was mad at first, and even Cole was mad at first, but I feel like it was just short track racing at its finest.
Yeah, that's what made that race in Bristol so exciting. It is the close proximity of all the cars that caused the big wreck on the second lap. Was too many cars in such a short period or short space. That kind of thing happens, and I agree it's racing. I'm not a big Kyle Busch fan, but I do think he gets picked on a lot by people that just don't want to like him. So no matter what he does, he's going to be the center of the attention, and so that's just the way it's going to be. So moving on to, let's see what else. New winners that we've had since we last met, starting with your favorite driver, Chase Elliott, finally came through. I think it was Washington. What do you think about finally won a race? We can't say that anymore. What did you think about his performance that day? He looked like the best car.
I kind of had a feeling that he was gonna win that day, even though I was so mad. But like, I just feel like he was gonna have that race where he finally came through. So I mean, I wasn't really the happiest that day, but in the end, it wasn't Jimmy Johnson, so it works out.
Right. And we still have not had a Jimmy Johnson winner this year. I've lost track of how many races he won, so that's a shame. I know in Lexie's world, not so much in Kells' world, but. And then Eric Jones, one of your favorite drivers, came through with his first win. What was your reaction to that, seeing him finally win?
Who are we talking about again?
Eric Jones.
Oh, Eric Jones, yeah. That was really exciting. It was at Daytona, but I kind of expected a new winner at Daytona, but I mean, it was interesting. He got his first win before Chase Elliott did, which is I still find that mind blowing. But I mean, it was about time he won too. He was coming close a bunch of times, so it was really great to see him win.
Yeah, definitely agree. So of the new winners, you're talking about Chase Elliott, who's still young, Eric Jones, who's still young. Maybe we'll have Will Byron win pretty soon. So there's a lot of new drivers coming up, and that's what the sport's been trying to get, because you've got some of the veterans winning a lot. And of course, last week, my man Kurt Busch came through, first win since Daytona of 2017. So I'm happy that he came through with all those wrecks and everything at Bristol. We kind of already talked about Bristol, so we'll move on to, let's talk about the playoff chase. So let me get the standings up here in front of me. But essentially, you've got, of course, the winners get in automatically. So everybody's focused on that cutoff line as to who's going to make the chase. And so right now, you've got in the 15 spot, you've got Alex Bowman. And then 16, you've got Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and then 17 and 18 are Newman and Suarez. So that's kind of where the cutoff line is. And Jimmy Johnson is in 14th. So do you see any major shakeups here, or do you think it's going to kind of play out where you'll end up with Bowman and Stenhouse in and Newman and Suarez out?
Well, the last two races of the regular season that are coming up, Darlington and Rich in the Brickyard, they're unpredictable. So I think anything can happen. But I need two more new winners or two more bad races for Jimmy Johnson.
Right.
That's all I need.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is watching, what's going to happen with the new winners. I certainly think the Brickyard is going to be unpredictable, with the restrictor plates. Stenhouse, I was thinking kind of when we were getting ready for the show, he can be such a wild card when he gets really fired up. And there was that one race, I can't remember which it was, where he was just basically wrecking everybody, it seemed, in sight to try to win. And of course, he still didn't win.
Karma came back and bit him in the butt.
Yeah, that's right. Now, what goes around comes around, as they say, and karma and all those type things. So certainly you got to watch for the new winners. So if I was to make a prediction, let me get open. I'm going to guess that I think Newman will get in and Stenhouse will. I like to see Suarez get in. I don't know if that's going to happen. Certainly will be an interesting final couple of weeks. So we'll talk a little bit more about Darlington. So this is going to be, is it a 1.5 mile track?
I'm pretty sure it's either a mile or a mile and a half.
Yeah, so it should be a pretty wide open race. Do you think it'll be the big three again, or do you have any wild cards that may win this week?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, Darlington is it's one of those action-packed tracks where you just think it's going to go one way and then it goes the other. So Kyle Busch has only had, I think, like 1 or 2 wins at Darlington. I'm not sure about Harvick or Truex, but honestly, I feel like if anybody's going to win that race, it's either going to be somebody from Stewart-Haas or it's going to be somebody from Joe Gibbs. So it doesn't matter who, but Denny won that race last year, so statistically he's going to be the favorite. So, I mean, I guess we'll just have to see what happens, but I have my money on Stewart-Haas or Joe Gibbs.
Right. Yeah, we'll see if so first time you mentioned Denny, he's still looking for his first win. I think it's been a disappointing season for him, certainly for his expectations. And he's usually floating around there, 5th, 6th, or 7th place or so, but hasn't busted through yet. What do you think of his season? Is there anything particular holding him back, or do you think that it's just been some bad luck and some other drivers' teams being faster?
I think it's just been the other teams have been faster. I mean, it's nothing that his team is doing. Like, they've been fast. It's just been a matter of being able to catch up with the big three. I mean, it's impossible to catch those guys. So I just think that I just think it's a stroke. It's a mix of a stroke of bad luck, and it's just a mix of just not being able to catch up with Kyle, Kevin, and Martin. So I mean, he'll get that first win. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, well, he's running out of time to get.
I know. He'll get it though. I'm pretty confident he will. So, I mean, I didn't think he'd win Darlington, and he did. So.
Right. Yeah, he's solidly, of course, in the playoffs, so that won't be an issue. But he'll need to.
And Richmond's coming up too, so I think that he'll win there too. That's his other home track. So.
Yeah, so fingers crossed. Maybe he'll get it done. And once you get in the playoffs, if you just start winning, it's all good. You'll keep going the next round. So
exactly.
Just got to get there first. So we're going to pivot a little bit. You're a big football fan. You've got your Steelers jerseys on. Anybody that knows you on Twitter knows you're a huge, huge Georgia Bulldogs fan. So we'll start with the Bulldogs, who I think are preseason number 2 or 3. What's your prediction for the season? Do you think they go undefeated? Do you think they go 11-1 and win the East, or what's your forecast there?
11-1 at worst, undefeated at best. SEC championship. Going to the playoffs, winning that game, and then winning the national championship. I think it's going to be a great season, great repeat from last year. So I think it's going to be a revenge tour part 2. Teams better watch out.
Right. Of course, you got that the big gorilla in the room, Alabama there in the West. They don't play in the regular season, right?
No, we haven't played them since, in the regular season, we haven't played them since 2015. So that was a nightmare.
Real nightmare for a lot of teams playing Alabama. But
we don't talk about that game ever. Ever.
I'll give a shout out. So for my Longhorns this year, Texas Longhorns all the way. I don't predict 11 or 12-0. I think maybe we go, if we could win 9 or 10 games in the regular season, that would be a pretty good season. We have a tough schedule. We've got to play Southern Cal, plus, of course, the Big 12 schedule is always tough. 9 games, Big 12 schedule to include Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, all those teams. So maybe 9-3 would be really good for the Horns. Last year they went 7-6 after the bowl game. So
right.
We'll see. Maybe someday Texas and Georgia will play in a playoff game, and we'll make some bet or something that the other one has to change their Abby. But who knows? So on to your Steelers. I've seen them. A lot of people think that maybe the Steelers' power era is over. But the Steelers are always right there. What do you think about their chances this year?
I feel like it'll be pretty much the same as last year, but I feel like maybe the record will be 13-3 at best, 11-5 at worst, in my opinion, and then we'll make the playoffs. But I mean, the Patriots got rid of a lot of big targets, so that's probably going to be a huge advantage for us.
Right? Yeah. Brady's going to run out of people to throw to.
Right. Right.
The receivers and Gronk has not been healthy as much lately, so we'll see. Well, football starts next Saturday. I'm looking forward to that. Of course, we'll have the race in Darlington next Saturday or Sunday next week.
Sunday night.
Sunday night. So that's Sunday night, Labor Day weekend. It's gonna be a fun weekend of sports. Thank you all for being here. Any last minute thoughts or shout outs?
Hope you guys enjoyed the Darlington race weekend, and I hope you guys watch some football. Go Dogs!
and I'll end with Hook 'em Horns, and we'll see you guys next time on NASCAR Chat and Football Chat, I guess, if we feel like talking about it.